First, let's change the number 54 to a constant. In this part, we're dealing with collisions between the ship and an enemy. If an enemy collides with the ship, we should lose a life. So, let's get started with that. Let's go to the game class. Here, in the game loop, we have this. Check if enemy destroyed ship. Yes. So, if enemy destroyed ship, check. Let's create a class called ship destroyed. Let's create a private int lives. We need a constant, which we will also call lives, which we'll set to 3. And in the constructor, we'll set the lives to the initial value 3. The game will start with 3 lives. Okay, so if we set game over to life equals 0. So the loop will not continue if we have 0 lives. Okay, so let's start with this function. Enemies destroyed ship, check. In this method, we need a coordinate, which will be the ship's current coordinate. Then we need to check if any of the enemies has destroyed a ship. So we'll create a has destroyed ship function in the enemies class, and we send the ship's coordinate to that function. We create a bool result, which is initially set to false, and then we set it to true if it has destroyed the ship, and then just return results. And then we need to create the ship destroyed function. In here, we'll decrease the life variable by 1. And we need to check if we have any lives left or not. But first, we don't just want the game to stop when a collision has occurred. Instead, we want to loop and let the beams fired continue until they have disappeared. We'll deal with that later on. Then we want to replot the enemies in case the enemy that hit the ship needs to be updated. Then we play the ship explosion sound, which we will also implement in a while. And then we need to check if there are any lives left. We will implement a function for a life lost in the next video. And then if the lives equal 0, we will have game over. We will also implement that later on. And then we just plot or update the lives digit in the upper right corner. Okay, so let's implement the plot lives function. Very similar to the plot score. It takes lives and it just plots lives, no initial zeros, and then we need to create a lives x position constant, which we just add up here. Let's copy the old one, the score xpos, and set it to live xpos, and that will be 97. Back to the game class. Okay. Ship explosion. just add another function, call it ship explosion, change to the right VAV file that I prepared in advance, and the volume will set to 1.0. We'll not do anything more with the ship destroyed for now. Onto the has destroyed ship in the enemies class. It takes a ship coordinate, or the ship coordinate, and in here we need coordinate entity, and then we need to loop over all the enemies to see if any of them has collided with the ship. We'll loop over all the enemies in the enemies class. We set the coordinate to the current enemy's coordinates, and then here we compare the ship coordinates with the current enemy coordinates to see if we have a collision. If the ship's x-coordinate is greater than the enemy x-coordinate -3 and the ship x-coordinate is less than the coordinate of the enemy +3, then we are within range. And then we also add if the ship's y-coordinate equals the enemy's y-coordinate +2. That's the first case. Now the second case. I will explain this further in the next episode also. So, or we have this scenario where it's -4 +4 and the y position equals the enemy's y position +1. If that's the case, we have a collision. Then we just return true. We don't want to continue looping over the enemies since we have found the right one that the ship has collided with to save time. But that's good for now. Okay, so let's try. There we have a collision. I will continue this episode in the next video.